Let's come back to dream yoga. Never stray too far. In fact, we haven't strayed at all, but it's not always obvious. One tiny point that should be mentioned. Remember last night I mentioned that prospective memory. As you're falling asleep, then think ahead, and after you've fallen asleep, then remember to do something, and that is when you first feel yourself coming awake, recognize it, you remember that? There's something, so know that, but then also do something. This is again from wonderful research done recently, but it's rather old again. My information pretty much 20 years old. But that is when you first sense I'm waking up, like a whale that's about to breach. You know, you're coming up towards the surface, I'm coming up, but you haven't completely engaged with this world yet, waking reality. Recognize that as soon as you can, when you're just starting to wake up, and then do something. And what you do is don't move, remain still. Because if you move, just like in meditation, if you move, for the moment what we attend to is reality. If you move, then you're going to be engaging with your body lying in bed, and that's going to knock you completely out of the dream, right? And then you're awake, which is not a problem, but then you can't do the following. So when you have a sense, oh, I'm starting to wake up, then just remember, be still. Be still. Don't move. And relax. And then turn your attention backwards. What's the last thing you remember? And if it was the last frame or the last video clip of a dream, then kind of fall back into it. Bring it back to mind. Play it again. Replay. Hit replay button at last. And then see if you can go right back into the world. Waking-induced lucid dreaming. Very effective. But now let's think large. Let's imagine as the physicists have a $3 billion research center, and neuroscientists standardly 10 million a pop to create a good neuroscience lab. One neuroscientist I know got 100 million at Princeton, and another one got 250 million euros for studying brain. It's a lot of moolah. So laboratories cost money. But imagine that there's one or more, and frankly, I don't care who runs it. If I have to then, and nobody else does, and I need to do it. But if somebody else will do it, I'll just jump onto their bandwagon. But imagine a contemplative research facility where you have people achieving shamatha at your baseline. Now you actually have your technology. That's it. The retreat facility is just a bunch of cabins. But you develop and you can't buy technology. You have to make it yourself. Just like Galileo had to make his own telescope. He couldn't buy them. Or he tried to, but somebody stole it. A postman stole it. It's true. So he had to make his own. They already had them in Holland, but they ripped it off, so he had to make his own. So he had to develop his own shamatha. He couldn't borrow it from somebody else. But imagine then you have a number of people who've made the technology. They've created shamatha. And then make quick work of it, for heaven's sakes. Realize emptiness. Shouldn't take too long. If you've shamatha on the mind, not too quick. Chop, chop. And now that you've done that, then call in Charlie, or Charlie's friends, or somebody else. Or Tibetan yogis are really good at dream yoga, but Charlie speaks English. Yes, you speak English, eh? Yeah, cool, I thought so. And so bring in somebody like him to teach you dream yoga. And master it. I mean, it should be easy peasy. You got shamatha, you got vipassana. This guy's going to whip you through it in a matter of weeks. So you just be totally versatile. In terms of emanation and transformation, you'll be in that dream, and it's just putty in your hands. You're in Switzerland, you go to Tahiti. You're with a man turning a woman. You're one into many, many into one, shape-shifting. I mean, pretty quickly, you're going to find just everything is there. And how do you shift a dream? If it's Godzilla or an alligator, how do you transform that into a Cocker Spaniel? Thinking it's a Cocker Spaniel. That's it. That looks like a crocodile, but I'm sure it's a Cocker Spaniel. And then, oh, it is, I thought so. That you can shift it, basically call it power of imagination, call it conceptual designation, but there's nothing there that says, the crocodile says, no, I'm too crocodilish, you can't turn me into a cocker. There's no crocodile at all, so you can turn it into anything you like, you know? And so really exercise the power of conceptual designation in the dream to experientially know thoroughly that everything here is empty of an inherent nature, but not only, but it comes into existence by the power of conceptual designation, which you can change at will, any way you can imagine. Master that. And then come out of meditation, now that you've got shamatha, vipassana, and dream yoga. Come out of meditation or wake up, whichever comes first, and then come back to this world. And if you've really mastered the utter emptiness of all phenomena in the dream, you've realized the emptiness of the mind in your vipassana meditation, and you're bringing the power of your technology, it's really crucial, your laser technology of shamatha, then here's a hypothesis. With a bit of training, and it shouldn't be too much, with that kind of background, shamatha, vipassana, and really a mastery of dream yoga, none of this should take very long once you have shamatha. That'll take as long as it needs to. But once you've got it, you've got it for life. Then when you're in the waking state with all of that background, shamatha, vipassana, and dream yoga mastery, then you should be able to look around your environment and do what you did in the dream. Start shifting it. Not by mastering the kasinas in the form realm, just by recognizing there's nothing here. There's nothing here from its own side any more than in a dream. This is no more ontologically real than a dream. And therefore, start conceptually designating things and see if you can shift at least your reality. Because you're in the center, you're the master of the universe. That is, you're in the center of your mandala and it's arising relative to your conceptual designations. And you can shift conceptual designation, you can shift reality, at least for yourself. And then there are many, many cases, in not only Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, etc., Sufi for sure. I knew somebody who was a Sufi master. He said when he grew up in Jordan, cities were really common. He said you didn't have to walk very far to find somebody displaying cities. That's what he told me. And he was an atomic physicist, by the way. He was an atomic physicist, Sufi dervish. Very interesting guy. So in any case, you should be able to view this dreamlike nature of reality and see how little different it is than an actual dream, and then start shifting things. Walking on water, multiplying loaves, doing what you like. Whatever you can imagine in a dream, you can do in a dream. And this is no more real than a dream. And if you have some real horsepower there, you can shift the dream not only for yourself, which is in a private showing, nobody else would know, and they just think you're crazy, but you can also shift it for other people, as in a dream. As in a dream, if you have a bunch of friends and you all see a crocodile swimming towards you, if you change it into a crocodile, into a cocker spaniel, you can make it a cocker spaniel for your friends too. They don't all have to see a crocodile. And so, you should see some real spillover from the kind of creativity and flexibility of the dream into the waking state if you bring those three elements, shamatha, vipassana, dream yoga. What do you think, Charlie? Worth doing? You think it's worth doing?
Yeah, I'm on that. It's a day.
Yeah? A thumbs up?
Double thumbs up.
And this won't, I guarantee, it's not 7 billion. It's not 7 billion euros. It won't cost nearly that much. And we get a heck of a lot more benefit than we got out of the Higgs boson. So that's research to be done. We start out with the technology. No shamatha, then everything else is half-baked. The shamatha, the vipassana is hard, dream yoga is hard, stage of regeneration is really hard, stage of completion incredibly hard. Shamatha, everything's much, much easier. So let's practice. But now we're doing a little bit of vipassana. We're not finished. Let's give it a second try. This time following the pith instructions from Guru Rinpoche, Padmasambhava, for which then I received the pith instructions from Gyatru Rinpoche. This is from his Dharma, the treasure teachings revealed in the 14th century by Karma Lingpa, but attributed to Padmasambhava. And it's in his section called Searching for the Mind, right after his presentation of shamatha, concluding with shamatha without a sign. As always, we settle body, speech, and mind in the natural state. Return to a state of rest, of balance, equilibrium. But not dull, dynamic, energetic. Having settled the mind in its natural state, relatively relaxed, still, and clear, then we listen to Padmasambhava's pith instructions on searching for the mind in order to fathom how does the mind actually exist. He states, while steadily maintaining the gaze, place awareness unwaveringly, steadily, clearly, nakedly, and fixedly, without having anything on which to meditate in this sphere of space. When stability increases, I'll paraphrase, when the stillness of your awareness settles in, when stability increases, examine the consciousness that is stable. What is it that has become still? Then gently release and relax. Again, place it steadily and steadfastly observe the consciousness of that moment. What is the nature of that mind? Commentary. The mind has become still, focused, stable. You know it. You know when it's agitated, when it's moving, but now, relatively stable, still, focused. What is it that has become stable, focused, and still? It's right here. What is it? What is the nature of that mind? Let it steadfastly observe itself. Is it something clear and steady? Or is it an emptiness that is nothing? Is there something there to recognize? Look again and again and describe for me an experience. So commentary, we see what he's doing here. Look very closely at this phenomenon that you call the mind. It becomes still and then moves, it becomes clear, focused, and then not so. Examine it very closely. Is there something there, clear, transparent, luminous, or is it nothing? But whatever it is, look closely, see what you see, articulate it for yourself, so that when you meet with your meditation guide and he or she asks, "What did you see?" you can describe, you put it into words, "This is what I saw." And then your mentor can take you a step further. But if you just say, "Oh, I'm not quite sure, I don't know, couldn't find anything," you didn't look hard enough. Look again. What do you see when you observe this mind that is still, clear, and focused? Steadily place your mind in the space in front of you and let it be present there. As we say in English, put your mind to this. Or the British will say, I believe, mind your head, mind this, mind that. Is exactly what he's talking about. Put your mind to this, the space in front of you. And examine well, he continues, what kind of an entity is this? Your mind that you have placed today. Look to see if the one who is placing the mind and the mind that is being placed are one or two. Now we're back to the agent, directing attention here, placing the mind there. Is the agentive mind the same as the mind that is being placed or directed? Or are they two? If there's not more than one, is that one the mind? Is that the referent of the word mind? Observe what is the reality of the so-called mind. Let the one who is pondering what is the mind like observe that very consciousness and search for it. Steadily look at the consciousness of the meditator. Look right where it is and search for it. It's got to be here. So look for it and find it. Observe, in reality, is the so-called mind something that exists? To paraphrase, does that word really have a referent? What's it referring to? If so, if it does indeed exist, does it have a location, size, or any other attributes? I'm going to interject here a comment he makes elsewhere. Responding to the question, do you have two minds or one? The mind that is directed and the mind that is directing. Are they one and the same? Or are they two? And then he asks elsewhere, if there are two, is one in nirvana and the other one in samsara? Is one resting in timeless stillness where the other one roves around in samsara? Do you have two minds? Or only one? But how can one thing direct itself or place itself here and there? How is that possible? And does this mind have a location, a size, or any other identifiable attributes by which you can observe it? Look closely. If you say it has none of those, no location, no size, no attributes, then observe whether it is an emptiness that is nothing. In other words, the word mind has no referent at all. But if you say it is an emptiness that is nothing, then how could an emptiness that is nothing know how to meditate? And what good is it to say you cannot find it? If it is nothing at all, what is it that brings forth hatred? His mind brings forth all kinds of mental events, desires, emotions. How can it be nothing when it's so active, so creative? It must be something. Is there not someone who thinks the mind has not been found? Look steadily right at that. And if you do ascertain that the mind is unfindable, nowhere to be found, not even within the parameters of existent and non-existent, then rest in that knowing of the emptiness of the mind. This type of inquiry, which is radically empirical, we're not just thinking about things, but looking very carefully, this is just classic prasangika madhyamaka vipassana for anything at all, not just mind, but everything else. And the classic approach when you're identifying something is there's, on the one hand, now speaking philosophically, there's a basis of designation, and then there's that upon which we impute the designated object. So there's John's body, and on the basis of that, I say John's right there. The body, the basis of designation of this person, John, is his body. It can be many things. It can be his voice, his mind, his thought, memory. But I'm seeing just his body, so that's enough. There's John right over there. So the basis of designation is the body, but that's not a person, never has been. But on the basis of that, I simply impute, I add something that wasn't already there, and he does the same. I designate the individual, the person, John. Now, in Prasangika Madhyamaka, everywhere, then a central strategy is in Tibetan called Doctrine Tselwa. Seek the designated object over there where the object is. The designated object here is John, a person. So, no question about it. And am I sure that's John? I'm really totally sure. Do I know John? Yeah, I know him certainly enough to engage in this practice. I can pick him out of a crowd. There's John, not John, got him. So I really know the relatively existent John. I know him enough. And then to investigate is to search for the designated object, the doctrine, that which is designated, the person John, and search for it over there. Because John is not a figment of my imagination. I'm not dreaming up John. He's a person here and he does stuff, he does things, all kinds of things. And so search for the designated object. And I'm looking, the only place to look, I'm not going to look over here, I'm going to look right where his body is, where his mind is, and I'm going to look for, where's John? Because I know John he's there, and insofar as I'm reifying him, then I'm assuming he's really there. So then where he should be, right over there, is he really there? And look for the designated object, Doctrine, that which is imputed, and see if you can find it. And if you can't find it, and it's not only you can't find it, but you find you're so thorough, you look from all angles in every possible way, then you see, it's not that I haven't found him, I have found that he's not to be found. So it's a simple point, I'll just make it really obvious. If somebody says there's a baby elephant in your one-bedroom apartment, and you look, you don't come out of your apartment and say, I couldn't find him. Who would say that? You say, it's a one-bedroom flat. I looked in the bathroom and the kitchen and the bedroom. It's a baby elephant. If it were there, I would have found it. It's not that I didn't find it. I discovered it's not there. Because I looked in the right way, and had it been there, I would have found it. So I'm not going to just say, I couldn't find it. Like I couldn't find my keys. I made a discovery. Somebody said there's an elephant in my apartment, but there isn't. I discovered the absence of an elephant, and that is knowledge. Not I couldn't find it, which is just lack of success. So that's the difference. That's why I said, what good of it? What good is it to say I can't find it? A big deal. If you didn't look, you wouldn't find it. You need to be so thorough that you discover its absence. And so what he's done here with the mind, Vipassana meditators working in Prasangika are using the same strategy everywhere. Having said that, the mind is, well, I've said again, I'm going to say it again because it's so important. If you want to examine, investigate the actual mode of existence of the phenomenon in question, then first be sure, be very confident that you could pick it out of a crowd. So an apple or a glass of water or John, but if you're not really sure you can identify it when it's right in front of you, then you're in no position at all to ask how does it ultimately exist, because you don't even know whether you found it or not. But John, I know, there's no doubt about it, glass of water, got it. And what struck me just a few minutes ago, I think before this session, was that physicists from Galileo onwards, right up to Anton Seinung and so on, they spent 400 years of just genius upon genius upon genius, and technology, just mind-bogglingly fantastic technology, to really gain a very detailed, quite encompassing knowledge of the phenomena of physical phenomena. To how do they appear? They look at them with all kinds of technology, and they know so much, and I'm saying this only with respect, but to know so much about the phenomenal world, and to just stick with physics. But textbooks, 400 pages, 800 pages, multiple textbooks, 800 pages, will tell what they've discovered for which there's consensus. And that's phenomenological. We looked and this is what we saw. These are the laws we found. And so that's phenomenological. And for 400 years, they were assuming that they were mapping onto a pre-existing universe with real space, real time, real matter, real energy, and all independent out there. But that was a lot of groundwork. They did their preliminary practices. They did their mundo for 400 years. So if there was an electron there, they would know it. That's a neutron, we've got a whole bunch we can identify all of them. We just picked up one more to throw into the bag. Higgs boson, count that one too, we just found it. So much phenomenological knowledge, and then within the last 20 years or so, having got that phenomenological knowledge, what is space, what is time, what's space-time, what's matter, what's energy, they know an enormous amount. They've succeeded, and on the basis of that success, then they start probing into how does it exist. And that's where we get these one mind-boggling statement after another. But if they hadn't done the hard work for 400 years, they wouldn't really know what they're talking about. But they know an enormous amount of what they're talking about. And therefore physics is clearly the most mature of all of the natural sciences in terms of really investigating how do things exist. In stark contrast, in case anybody thought there was a symmetry here, so they're saying space-time doesn't exist, matter isn't out there, and energy, we don't know what it is. On the one hand, so there's a physicist wrapping things up. We don't know what's out there. But here's a false symmetry. We have people like Daniel Dennett, Graziano, Rosenberg, the Churchlands, and so forth saying that consciousness doesn't exist, subjective experience, quality, that doesn't exist, mind doesn't exist. And so it might look on the surface, well, good, they found it doesn't exist. The physicists, wow, we got real symmetry here. No, there's no symmetry at all. Because the ones saying qualia don't exist, mind doesn't exist, they are still assuming absolutely without question the brain exists. That's exactly what they say. It's only the brain that exists. The brain is real, neurons, synapses, these are real, these are cells, that's real, absolutely real. It's just that flim-flam, subjective experience. That's what doesn't exist. There's no symmetry there at all. That's just flat out delusional. And so the symmetry is the physicists not knowing what consciousness or mind is, they have no training, and when they try, they really blow it. Michio Kaku did not do a good job. He's a physicist with no training in mind. He wrote a whole book on mind. That takes some real balls. Really? Why don't I write a book about, the brain? I know almost nothing about it. Why don't I write a book about the brain? If a physicist can write about the mind, I can write about the brain, except for nobody will buy my book. Yes, they shouldn't. So, if you're looking for symmetry, of looking and finding the absence of space, time, matter, energy out there, no, we found that it's not there. Only a field of possibility, but even the field of possibility isn't out there. Werner Heisenberg was very strong about that point. The whole collapse of the probability function. Don't think there's a probability function out there waiting to collapse. It's a way of talking. But there's no field of potentiality there that you kind of pick, oh, look, it's really a lot of potential. It's completely unfindable. And then does anybody say anything like that with respect to subjective experience who actually knows what they're talking about? Yeah, these people here. And they've done the hard work as well. Say, well, what about the hard work of the physicists doing 400 years of studying phenomenology, of dropping balls down, dropping balls from the Tower of Pisa? That's phenomenology all the way through to discovering the Higgs boson. That's phenomenology. They didn't discover the ultimate nature of existence of the Higgs boson, but they discovered that it exists with superb technology and brilliant theorizing. So I'm speaking with respect here. And so where's the hard work of really examining the mind phenomenologically, which is not done here. Not done here. This is an ontological probe. So who has done from the Buddhist side, for example, who's done the hard work of putting in a very, very detailed, thorough examination of the phenomena of the mind? As physicists have studied the phenomena in atomic physics, studying the phenomena of atoms, phenomena of elementary particles, the phenomena of light propagating through space in the form of waves. That's a lot of hard work, and they did a brilliant job. Who's done a brilliant job of really studying the phenomenology of the mind prior to going into the ontology and simply discovering that it's empty of inherent nature? Who's done that? Buddha. It's called the Four Applications of Mindfulness, and it's the third one. If you look at it, it's all phenomenology. It's not ontology. It's not asking, does the mind exist independently of conceptual designation And so, no, it's just saying closely apply mindfulness. That's what Satipatthana means. Closely apply mindfulness. Look very closely at the mind and see what you see. Look, observe it. From the stillness of your awareness, observe everything that you would call mind, or the Prasangika would say, everything that you would use as, that you would identify as a basis of designation of the mind. Not the mind, but my hand. If you see my hand, what would you say, Tenzin? If you see my hand, let's imagine I hide behind here, and I just hold up my hand. Hi. Do you see my body? Be careful. Don't blow it. 160 people are just waiting for you to crash and burn. So I'm hiding behind this altar, and I'm just going, hi, Tenzin. Can you see my body or not? I know you can see my hand. What's the square root of -1? Well, 1 + 1 is 2. Nice try. I'm old, but I'm not that old. So let's start all over again. Hi, Tenzin. Can you see my body? You cannot. You cannot see my body. Is that the answer? You can only see my hand. Can you see my body? I need something here. He's just going, Om. Yeah, I need an answer here. I mean, this is a yes or no. This is kind of like nothing in between. Can you see my body or not?
Right now?
No. He's like an eel. Whoop, whoop. You're so slippery. No, I'm still behind the box and I'm still going high. Can you see my body? When all you can actually see is my hand. Hi. He said, part of my body. Oh, hallelujah. Now I see the light. Of course you can see my body. That's not my question. That's not my question. Can you see my hand? Can you see my body when all you can see is my hand? I need a yes or no. If you're wrong, I'm not going to really beat you to death. I'll only mug you moderately. Can you see my hand? Can you see my body? Yes or no?
Is it like with a small...
That's not yes or no. That's kind of like, oh, that's another tricky one. If you don't know the answer, answer with a question. It totally confuses me. Like, oh, what did he do? Still, I'm not that old. I'm pushing it, but not there yet. Can you see my body? Yes or no? No? That's an answer. If I show you both my hands, can you see my body? No. If I show you my hands and my face, can you see my body? My hands, my face, and my neck. Can you see my body? No. Can you see my body right now? You can. What do you see of my clothes are not a body, right? That doesn't count. And no, I will not strip naked for you. I know you really want to see me naked, but no, I'm too modest. I don't want to show my one pack. It's impressive. You've seen six pack, but I got a one pack that beats them all. So you see my body right now or you don't? I really need a yes or no here. Can you see my body?
I think yes. I think I see.
You think, but you're not sure. You know, if we walked outside and there are some strangers out there and I turned to you, can you see my body? And you said, I think so. They're going to say, are you taking him to the nearest asylum? I think so, but I'm not too sure. Go ahead, be decisive, be bold. Can you see my body or not? Right now, can you see my body? Yes. But you already said, if you see only my hands, my face, and my neck, you can't see my body. What of my body parts do you see right now, apart from my hands, throat, and head? What do you?
At some point, I decide if I see your body.
I know, but that's what I'm asking. You said before, if you see my face, my throat, and my hands, you can't see me. What else can you see right now, except for a bunch of clothes? But you said yes, you can see my body. I'm going to put you out of your misery. Everybody would say, when they don't feel they're under scrutiny. If you see my hand waving, you say, oh yeah, I see Alan's body. Because you don't have to see all of it. Consider, if you really were intending to go to there, that you don't see my body unless you see all of it. Nobody's ever seen all my body. I don't want anybody to see it. My liver, my spleen, the feces, the intestinal tract, nobody ever wants to see my body. And you don't have to see all the parts. And nobody could. You'd have to see the elementary particles. Those are body parts. So you don't have to see all the body to see the body. That's quite clear. And nobody ever sees all the body. So how much do you need to see to say, yes, I certainly saw your body? Enough to know that you see me and I go behind, so I'm not a magician here, and you see my body, you know that hand is connected to the wrist, and the wrist bone is connected to the shoulder bone, and the shoulder, it's all connected, everything else. So you know it's not somebody else's hand. See, I saw your body. All you need to do is use this as a basis of designation for body, and that's quite sufficient. I saw your body, I saw your very distinctive hand. I heard you, I heard your voice. So all you need is a basis of designation, and that's enough. The hand is not a body, you're quite right. But it's a sufficient basis of designation if you have good reason to believe this is my hand, and therefore my body. And so likewise, Dambala, if you observe an image of a peach coming up in your mind, are you observing your mind?
Yes.
Yeah, you are. Is an image of a peach a mind?
It's the reference.
Just
Yes.
Is an image of a peach a mind?
No.
But you just said if you see an image of peach, you've seen your mind.
I can only answer yes or no, right?
No, you can say whatever you like. But you said if I see an image of a peach, I've seen my mind. You also said an image of a peach is not my mind. So how is it that you can see an image of a peach and see your mind?
It's a sufficient reference, sufficient basis of designation.
Thank you. It's a sufficient basis of designation. An image of a peach is not a mind. But how much of your mind do you need to see in order to say, I saw my mind? A basis of designation is sufficient. If you see the space of the mind, that's a basis of designation. If you see an emotion coming up, I was observing my mind, I saw impatience coming up. I observed a memory, I was observing my mind. And so it's a zoo in there of all kinds of animals, virtuous and non-virtuous and all kinds of things. If you identify any one of them, did you see the zoo's animal? Yeah, I saw the zoo's animal. How many did you see? Only one. That was big and that was enough. You know, if you see the basis of designation, that's enough to say observe the mind. So in the close application of mindfulness to the mind, which is phenomenological, they're not asking any of these ontological questions, then you're observing a whole bunch of things that are not the mind, like thoughts and images, the whole array of mental afflictions, all the emotions, and you're observing samadhi and observing mindfulness, you're observing a wide array of mental impulses, you're observing consciousness, you're observing the space of the mind, you're observing mental images. None of those are the mind, any more than what any planet is a solar system. But any one of those is sufficient to say, I'm observing my mind right now. What are you seeing? Space of the mind. Space of the mind is not the mind, it's an attribute of the mind, it's space of the mind. So it's not the mind, but that's enough. The space of the mind is a suitable basis of designation for saying mind. And so in phenomenological careful scrutiny, and you read it, it's not long. The Buddha's instructions on the close application of mindfulness to the mind, it's not long, but it's quite brilliant, and it would keep you busy for at least some years. To examine whatever is arising within that space, including the space itself. You examine subjective impulses. You examine the appearances arising. You examine dreams arising. It's a wide variety. This will keep you busy as you're really mapping the territory of what kind of phenomena arise, which are wholesome, which are unwholesome, which are neutral, which are variable. How are they present? Are they permanent, impermanent? This is phenomenology. Permanent, impermanent. Are they veritable wellsprings of joy, of happiness, or are they not? Do any of them actually belong to you, or are they you, or are they not? This is phenomenological. What are the factors of origination? How do mental events take place? What are the causing conditions by which a thought, an emotion, a perception, a dream, what are the factors of origination? How is it present once it's there? And what are the factors of disillusion? How do they fade out? How do they slip away? Phenomenology start to finish. And in so doing, like the physicist, how much technology have we gotten since Galileo from studying the phenomenology of matter and energy, space-time, right down to elementary particles, quartz crystal watches, and so forth. I mean, tremendous amount of benefit without knowing anything about the ontology, the actual nature of the physical world. By knowing the phenomenology of it and the laws of karma, the laws of physics, then tremendous benefit and such a rich understanding of the phenomenological physical universe. Tremendous success, for which I have only deep admiration. So they did that, and then they come up, no space, no time, matter isn't out there, neither is energy, don't even know what it is. But they earned the right to say that they're not just a bunch of kids, oh, I don't think time exists. No, they earned their way every bit. If you do the heavy lifting of all four of the close applications of mindfulness, but especially the application of mindfulness of the mind, you really understand the phenomena of mind. What are the causes of suffering? They're found in the mind. The true causes of suffering are not in genes or DNA or neurons or synapses or in matter. The true causes of suffering are, you're looking right in the right arena. They're right there where delusion, craving, and hostility are. You're looking right at them, and if you examine them closely, you can see how they are always implicated in the emergence of any kind of mental suffering. You found the culprit. Problem, you're a Sherlock Holmes, you've just found the three culprits and you send them to prison. They're convicted. Delusion, craving, and hostility. You're guilty. When you're gone, we're going to have a happy mind. That's big. What are the true sources of happiness? How come some people are happy when they're in dire poverty and sick and so forth? True causes are right here. Can you identify them? That's phenomenology. So the practical benefits of this careful scrutiny, phenomenological investigation of the mind, its nature, the afflictive tendencies, the wholesome tendencies, what causes what are the consequences, the not much hedonic benefit. You're not going to build a better bridge or any technology at all, and that's why Tibetan made no progress for 1,200 years. But the progress from the time of the Buddha, in terms of understanding phenomenologically, what are the true sources of well-being, true sources of suffering? How do you cultivate intelligence, cultivate samadhi, cultivate compassion, cultivate things that we tremendously value that no money can buy? That all comes from the phenomenology of really examining the mind closely. So these, again, I look for things that should be together and somehow they haven't quite gotten together yet. Modern cutting-edge physics, this incredible insights, some of which are cited here, they really should be together with incredibly accomplished contemplatives, Buddhist, Hindu, and otherwise, because they really need each other. The contemplatives don't know about the laws of gravity and so forth, etc., and the physicists don't know squat about the mind, the observer, or consciousness. They never had any training. Put those two together. The Theravadins at their best, and there are some who are really at their best, they know those four satipatthanas down inside and out. They really know them well. Among contemporary practitioners, Analayo Bhikkhu, very good. Bhikkhu Bodhi, very good. And then in Asia, my teacher was world-class, Ananda Maitreya, and they know really how to investigate the phenomenology of the mind, the close application of mindfulness to the mind. They should be getting together with Tibetans, who are so good at looking at the ontology of the mind. Why aren't these being put together? The brilliant phenomenology of what you find in the Pali Canon with the brilliant ontology you find in the perfection of wisdom and so forth. Then you'd have such strength. So I don't really know anything of my own, but I've been introduced to this gold mine and physics and this and that. I say, wow, these people should get it together. You know, we could actually save the planet. If we collectively, I'm not saying me or the Buddhist or nothing messianic here, but if we just put together knowledge we already have about what are the true sources of happiness, how could 13.8 billion people flourish, survive, enjoy being with each other, and not decimate our home? You know, if we just put our knowledge together, the vast knowledge of science, the profound knowledge of the contemplatives, and multiple traditions, multiple branches of science, and multiple contemplative schools. We know everything. I'm persuaded. It's maybe my article of faith, but I'm totally persuaded we know everything we need to know. We already know, we collectively, when we draw from the East and the West, ancient and modern, we know everything we need to know to set everything right. Save our planet, flourish, balance out, sustainable population, sustainable energy, sustainable agriculture. We know everything. We don't need to know anything more. We've already learned everything we know. We're just not putting it together. Just not putting it together. So many people think only we have the knowledge. Only we Buddhists, we know. Those Hindus don't know. Scientists, only we scientists know. Those contemplative, they don't know anything, etc. Rangitawa Chokduzimba, regarding one's own view as supreme and regarding everybody else as waste. That's what's killing us. So I've just been pontificating here. But I think what we're facing here is really, really, really crisis. And I really do feel all the knowledge is right there. Just need to put it together. So, click, pet. See you at 7:30.